Hello and welcome to a video on a new Memoir 44 scenario I'm developing. This is the first prototype, really, the first iteration. It's on the Battle of Dubno, Brody, ostensibly the largest tank battle of World War II, unlike popular myth, which has it that it was the Battle of Kursk or the Battle of Prohorovka, to be more precise. But according to many sources, this was actually the largest tank battle. It took place in June 1941 during the opening stages of Operation Barbarossa. And it's two breakthrough boards side by side, so you actually need two breakthrough decks for it as well. I've designed. This is my third design of two breakthrough maps side by side. I've also made one on the Battle of Hurtgen Forest. It's called the Green Hell, which you can find on the Memoir 44 website. It seems to be offline or something at the moment and under construction. But there are actually links to it that can be found on Board Game Geek if you go to Memoir 44, and you can find the old website. You can find the scenario there if you're interested. But I don't think I'm able to post this one there at the moment because the site is under construction or something like that. But I will probably try to post it in some other way on Board Game Geek in the files section. Anyway, as I said, this is just the first prototype, so it's really not done yet. Still have to play test it. Well, just a couple of things about it. That this is a map I found in a video and on YouTube on the battle. Mind you, this is a very big area. Dubno and Brody. Well, it's important to note as well that this is actually the west. This is the east. This is the north, and this is south. So that's also more or less how I built up the map. Also to be able to make it possible to retreat. Obviously, ideally, I would have been able to do that slightly differently, but that's the way it happened in the end. I just put the names of the villages next to it. Now, I'm sure that many of you are going to comment, wait a minute, these distances are way too enormous to have infantry engage tanks from that distance. I know, but the scale is such. Anyway, the scale of Memoir 44 is pretty fluid, I think, but think of it in such a way, and that's the way I legitimize it to myself, and that at this scale, the units aren't just a couple of tanks. It might be an entire tank division or at least a tank brigade with attached artillery support, air support that can be called in, heavy mortar support, what have you, even recon units, support units. It's not just a relatively small number of tanks. So the longer ranges could be explained away by artillery actually hitting an enemy unit and not small arms fire or something like that. Anyway, so if that's one of your concerns, so it's more for playability reasons that I've made certain decisions. So as I said, you need two breakthrough decks. I've already drawn a few cards. The Germans on each board have 6 command cards. So these happen to be the ones I actually drew. This is the one I'm playing first. The Russians have 4 command cards each, and the commissar rules are in fact are in play as well. Some other things I'll talk to you about. The Russians start off with 11 medals. That's for the village hexes and town hexes. As soon as the Germans control one, the Soviet medal is removed, and the Germans get to place a medal that's on the town onto their medal track. So basically, the control hex, the control of the hexes, of the town hexes, is what awards you victory points, apart from destroying units. The Germans can also exit units for victory points off the map, here, here, and here, so the 3 main roads. I believe I'm going to toy around with that a little bit still, but if they exit, for the time being, I've said 6 units off those exit hexes, it's going to be a sudden death victory condition for the Germans, and they win immediately. Also, should they ever control all the town hexes on the board, they also win immediately. Entry hexes, those are for Russian units that can either enter from their baseline or they can enter between these entry hexes, including the ones the entry marker is actually on. I should place this one back, I see. What else is worth telling? Well, in the actual battle, the Germans had fewer numbers but better quality troops. They were actually at the pinnacle of their power at the beginning of the invasion of the Soviet Union in June 1941. And for instance, that's reflected in some special rules. One being that any Recon 1 card played by the Germans can be played as an air power card or as an artillery barrage card. The air power card itself cannot be played by the Soviets. Should they draw it, they have to immediately discard it and draw another. As you can also see, the standard Russian tank units consist of two tank figures each. The elite armor ones are T-34s. Obviously, at the scale of this battle, that doesn't mean they were entirely composed of T-34s necessarily, but it does mean that there were a number of them, making the unit actually stronger. And these tank units consisting of a single figure are KV-1s and KV-2s. Same story there. And they go by Tiger rules for all intents and purposes. Regular infantry, regular artillery. Here you can see German supply trucks and half tracks. They were actually much better supplied than the Russians as well. So that's why those units are in play as well. So they can actually resupply tank units, artillery units, what have you. Some 88s are in play because they played a pivotal role too in the actual battle dealing with the heavy Russian tanks. Some supported armor, as you can see here. Some self-propelled artillery. I'm not quite sure if they actually used it a lot in the battle, but I just wanted to give the Germans some more options with their artillery as opposed to the Russians. So that's why I added this one. And again, I'm still going to be toying around with the scenario, still to play test it. It's just some initial ideas, and for me, the intent is to bring across the feel of that battle, so that the Russians actually have superior numbers and the Germans have better quality troops. Note that it's using the D-Day landings reinforcements table with some adaptations, of course. There's no French resistance. You cannot draw an airborne unit. Well, I don't know all the changes I've made to that, but there are some changes there. The SWA units, you can actually roll for them, but you won't get the late war variant. You will get the early war variant. The Tiger tank would actually be the KV-1 tank for the Russians should they roll it. It's not available to the Germans. So with some changes, you actually get to do a reinforcement roll, I believe, after each time you play a command card, but you need to get lucky enough to actually get certain combinations. And the Russians, as long as they control a majority of the town hexes, so since there are 11, as long as they control 6 or more, they actually get to roll, because the number of dice you roll for reinforcements, ground reinforcements, is equal to the number of command cards. But the special rule is that as long as the Russians control the majority of town hexes, so 6 or more, they get to roll as many as 7 dice for reinforcements to symbolize those superior numbers that they have. But it is also easier for them to be taken out. For instance, what happened in the actual battle is that these tank reinforcements, and this is of course an abstraction, I believe they actually entered the board a little bit later and everything, but I didn't want to have them all enter because you would never roll this many tanks, and there is supposed to be a large tank battle. So these enter here, but they can of course be attacked by German air power cards or what do they call, the Recon 1 cards that can actually be played by the Germans as if they were air power cards. So that's a little bit about the battle. Now, is there anything else I need to point out? I think that mostly covers it for now. and I just need to start playtesting and see how everything works out. Also important to note that Russian armor moves only 2 in this scenario, whereas the Germans move the normal 3 hexes per activation. Well, I think I'm not actually forgetting much besides that I want to mention. No, I don't think so. So, yeah, let's see how the playtesting goes, and I hope it's going to be a fun scenario. Maybe I'll make some small changes to the map. I don't know, but let's see how it works out. It's anyway a very intriguing battle, and it's amazing how little literature and sources can actually be found on this one, as opposed to Kursk and Prokhorovka. Of course, this one was also part of a much larger invasion, Barbarossa, and the yeah. All in all, the Germans were only held up for a couple of days, so it wasn't a major distraction even in that sense. But still, it's a very intriguing battle, and things could have gone differently. So let's see how this double breakthrough map, I believe it's called, Break Lord or Overthrow, can actually represent the feeling, well, and the flow of the battle. So let's see how it goes. I think I did a pretty decent job on the other 2 scenarios I mentioned before, the Green Hell, and the other one was called, what was it called? It was on Operation Nordwind. Bloodstained Snow. I think I did a pretty decent job on those. Those are completely finished. So if you're interested in trying those out, by all means, do look them up on Board Game Geek. And no, sorry, not on Board Game Geek. On the Memoir 44 website. There's a link available on Board Game Geek to it, and then you can still get to the scenarios. So I hope this sparks your interest. I'll keep you posted on how the playtesting goes, and I'll keep you informed of any changes I make to the scenario. And once I think it's worthy of publishing, I'll try to post it on Board Game Geek somehow. And once the Memoir 44 website is available again, I'll post it there. So thank you very much for watching, and see you on the next one.